Welcome to another conversation in People in Fundraising. This podcast features interviews with nonprofit professionals who discuss their career journeys, lessons learned, and enthusiasm for working in fundraising. And here's your host, the founder of People in Fundraising, Tim Wilson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Wilson. I'm the founder and host of the People in Fundraising webcast series that I launched just over a year ago. And today I am really excited to welcome our 50th guest to the program. Also one of the most supportive people of this initiative, Jess Channell-Iler, who's joining us from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. It's great to see you again, Jess.
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome. And I can't believe I'm number 50.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for being the 50th. This is great. So just by way of introduction, Jess and I have participated in several Apra international learning opportunities, share the knowledge events, all virtual. And she was very kind to have me present at the Apra SWARO chapter a few months about this podcast. Mm-hmm. And I just really appreciate your support over this year, Jess, with People in Fundraising. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're doing a great thing here. I've always believed that we need to record what is going on in prospect development and fundraising in general. We have a great history, and I'm glad that you're doing it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. And that's exactly why I'm doing this, is to capture, to give people like you a few minutes to talk about how they entered the profession, but also what makes them motivated to stay in the nonprofit sector and kind of get a little sense of who they are outside of work as well. So yeah, that was the goal, and I'm sticking to it. And Jess recently got promoted at UNLV. She is the Director of Fundraising, Intelligence, Analytics, and Reporting. So congratulations. And if you want to share a little bit about that, perhaps if we can weave that into the latter part of how you entered the nonprofit world, I'd love to hear that.
Sure. Well, I actually started out as most people in my prospect development generation did, fallen into fundraising. I'd actually quit university and needed a job. And so I'm familiar with University of Memphis and got a job there as a development secretary. I was working for 6 development officers, and including mostly central teams, annual giving and CFR and all the things, and the director of advancement services. And she eventually took me over. She was doing a corporate peer screening with the board and needed help. And so I started doing profiles, for this peer screening, and just fell in love with it. And she saw it and she was like, "You're now mine." So I worked my way up from there into constituent analyst position, where I was doing database work and munging all of the data, getting ready for implementation. We were moving from ADS into Banner.
Okay.
So that was fascinating. And I was working for the prospect research director at that point. I think he was actually a manager at that point. But so we basically locked ourselves in a room and went through every field in Banner and for 2 months straight. And it was amazing. to this minute, Daniel and I are like trauma bonded. It's amazing. We learned so much about the database and so much about the paradigm that we needed there, in order to get us through I think we're doing 750 million campaign at Memphis at that point in time.
Wow.
And I mean, it was great. We did the thing. And so I learned and watched, and I was on all the implementation teams because the director, Michelle Hussey, was in all of them, and she needed me there to take notes.
Okay.
So I learned firsthand, through experiencing all of that. It was so cool. And so I finally got the title and got to go to PD and
Awesome.
met Sabrina Latham at UAB, who is still I'm still one of her greatest fans. She was like, "You're coming to work for me in 2 weeks." I'm like, "What?"
Whoa.
Okay. So I called Michelle and told her, I was like, "Well, somebody wants me to come work in Birmingham for them." And she's like, "Well, I'm going too." So good.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. And
What a coup.
exactly. So we moved in and implemented Banner at UAB.
Wow.
Just had an amazing time. And we Sabrina and I built a team of 5 analysts there, and really got into grateful patient, gratitude giving and all of that. And just did the thing. And then it came to the point in time where I was like, okay, what's next? And there was a position open for data analyst. And I'm like, I can do that. I like that. And so I asked and moved over and started doing yield analyses for each college and all of this cool stuff.
This was still at UAB?
Still at UAB. And
Okay.
then a kid. And I was like, my husband's on the road all the time because he's a truck driver. And it was me and a newborn and, 80 hours of work a week. And that wasn't happening.
Whoa. Wow.
And it was just what needed to be done, not what I was asked to do.
Yeah.
So I found a small Lutheran school in Ohio and at Wittenberg University. I love that place. And so I started going there, and I was senior associate director of prospect research, and so it was still a title up. I was still moving up, doing all things.
Yeah.
Had an amazing time there. That was a very different experience because both Memphis and UAB are R1, higher education, full out, specified schools, and Wittenberg is this little
Sure.
nonprofit inside of this amazing experiential school. And
yeah,
it's just very different, and I loved it. And then we went into a $40 million athletics campaign, and I got to do all kinds of crazy things like feasibility by myself, and working with consultants to get all of that done, and just I've had amazing opportunities all the way. So when my son got a little older, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to R1. Let's go. And so I ended up at UNLV. Here I am.
Okay.
4 months after I got here, everyone from the director of principal gifts all the way up to the chancellor quit.
Whoa.
So, yeah,
wow.
We've had some challenges here in keeping consistency.
Okay.
The president was gone, the VP was gone, the AVP was gone. Like, what do we do?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the AVPs and I got together and we just kind of created and recreated and created a third time to the point of 4 or 5. Just these development plans, and every time someone new would come in, the paradigm would change and we would have to pivot and shift and redo what they liked. So it's been an amazing kind of experience in change management, for certain. And in the middle of a pandemic, no less.
Sure. Yes.
It's been really fun. And so we got to the point where like, okay, let's bring in some consultants. We're going to reorganize. I had trained up 2 analysts who went on to be directors elsewhere. And so it was kind of like, okay, it's a shop of me and we have 47 development officers. What are you going to do? And so we took the opportunity to bring in consultancy and restructure. They were like, okay, one thing that's missing here is sort of a backbone of accountability. We don't really have metrics. We have some dollar goals and some visit goals, that sort of thing, but nothing consistent. So they were like, okay, you're now going to be the director of fundraising intelligence. Make that work. Thanks. That was December. And so far, we've gone through and working with the consultant and changed some fields in the database so that they made a lot more sense. And,
Okay.
not carte blanche, but, more access to data so I can move it in mass and that sort of thing. And we're really getting to the point where we've got a solid development plan that matches across the institution. We've been really lucky. We got a great VP and Ricky McCurry. He was at Tennessee for a while, and so he's well versed in change and in fundraising, and we're really appreciative of the back of the house as well as the front of the house, and he understands it, and that's amazing. So we've been hard at work trying to bring UNLV up to a good standard. in a time where things were forming, in the early 2000s, and institutions were trying things. UNLV tended to hybridize everything. Yep, we like that idea and we like this idea. Let's throw it together. And so we have some very interesting rules, I guess, that we walked into.
Okay.
Policies and procedures are interesting here. All within good realms. Don't get me wrong, but we're working to get us to a place where we can get into pretty much $1 billion campaign. And
awesome.
It's amazing. It's been an amazing journey over the past 4 years, but we've got a lot more to go, and I'm excited for it.
That's so cool. Yeah, and I think being at an R1 institution again, and particularly in a location that is absolutely booming. I mean, Las Vegas. We drove through there coming back from Disneyland back in early December.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's the NFL team, there's the NHL team there now. There's rumors that perhaps Oakland Athletics are going to move to Las Vegas at some point.
Yep.
U2 is opening up this, I think it's the Sphere later this year.
Yes.
I thought about seeing it until I found out the drummer is not going to be there. So
oh no, you can't have U2 play with the Edge. What?
So, yeah, Larry Mullen Jr. started the band, and he's got some back surgery or something. I'm getting us way off topic, but
it's fine.
But yeah, I mean,
that's a regular thing here, though. And what's amazing is that locals generally don't go and see that kind of thing.
Really?
So we're in an amazing space where all of these people, every name you've ever heard, is here.
Yeah.
But the tickets are amazingly priced as well. And unless you go through like the hotels and get like the package deals, it's a stretch.
Okay.
A lot of locals don't actually go and see that kind of stuff, but it's cool. It's so cool,
Yeah.
But that said, you can also, be out at Target and there's Beyonce. I mean, it's really bizarre. And then go ahead.
Yeah, no, what an exciting place to be if you're into live entertainment, but also with the sports events, and now you marry that with the university the size of UNLV and now this campaign. Like, that's gonna be really exciting for the future.
Yeah, it's amazing. There isn't a deep cultural philanthropy here. There is, but instead of, don't get me wrong, there's lots of philanthropy here, but the idea has been over the years to create a foundation or to do it yourself instead of out there already. So it's an amazing experience. Our development teams are working really hard to show the ROI on investment in UNLV. We actually vie with Berkeley every year for the most diverse campus in the United States.
Wow.
So we're very much an MIS school, and we are literally in the backyard of the greatest hospitality example on earth.
Yes.
So we have a very strong school there. We have a very strong business school and engineering school. So we're very very proud of that. And I think the community is getting on board with that, but it's a matter of telling those stories, instead of, well, that's Las Vegas high, it's very much coming into its own over the past 5 or 6 years. So,
interesting. Yeah. And how long have you been at UNLV, Jess?
December of 2018 is when I started.
Okay.
So it's been about 3 years. So it's interesting.
Nice. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, and you've touched on it a little bit, is both the variety of roles you've held in the Deep South, Mid South, Ohio, and now UNLV, but also the skills that you have had to develop as your career has progressed. And so what I often do with guests is I go on their LinkedIn to just make sure that I've got their title right when I introduce them, but also just see, skills, education, how long they've been at certain places. And for you on your LinkedIn, you mentioned SQL, transaction SQL, R, the programming language, and agile methodologies. I haven't even heard of that one. So my question is, how do you carve out time in your day-to-day work, and maybe it spills over into personal time too, where you are doing your core responsibilities while also learning these highly complex new skills? What has that looked like for you?
Honestly, all of these skills have come out of just being resourceful. I started my career as sort of the Tupperware overflow. So if there was a hole, I filled it, and, if there was something, I upskilled and got it done, basically. So that has sort of driven me towards this constant learning. And especially like over the pandemic, we had actual goals where we would do professional development at least 5 hours a week.
Oh, cool.
And even if that's in your professional time, if that's in your not professional time, so be it. But we needed to learn and grow. I was also growing a team from outside of fundraising into prospective development professionals. So that was kind of an interesting experiment. It worked. But I always take this, I'm always on LinkedIn looking at what's going on. I'm involved with the Apra chapter boards. So we always have this need for more learning and to pass what I know, just from my own example down. So I just never stop learning. There's always a need for something. So, I go and upskill, and then we did get it done, just as a team, so it's not a thoughtful thing. It's just a habit. Truly. But, I've had so many wonderful opportunities just because of that, we really need to get to where we have a great metrics. Okay, I can do that, and then I go and SQL and start pulling reports. I think the best way to even describe it is just I've been afforded so many wonderful opportunities to learn and grow. I was a farm kid, and fell backwards into fundraising, and here I am.
Yeah.
I always kind of say I'm here to help, however and whenever, so be it.
Sure.
If it raises the boats, I'm there.
Well, so I didn't know about you mentioned you were a farm kid. That leads me to a question that's not on the interview sheet for you, but I've asked a few other people in the past. How do you talk to people that maybe don't know the particulars of what you do, or maybe aren't even, like you mentioned, the culture in Las Vegas of philanthropy is not really deep. How do you describe what you do to people that aren't very familiar with maybe fundraising in general, or specifically for the the complex skills and roles that you've held?
Today it's a little different. Before December, I would say that what I do is help match interests with the university and things that projects that are going on there with people's outside interests.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to kind of describe all the detail. And then, at some point you get into the weeds and people are like, okay. I've gotten a lot of, wow, you're smart. Okay. Just bewildered sort of outlook. So, I actually avoid the subject if at all possible. But that's it. Now I think I could probably say, and I'm a true funky tech. I kind of sit in the middle between the tech teams and the front line, and I always have, so it's this weird kind of, okay, let's translate. And then, someone from alumni in the room, and you're like, okay, I can do that too. But now we have it's like speaking Italian, Greek, and English all at the same time.
Yeah.
So now it's probably more like I help measure and visualize what's actually going on, and the success of the operation.
Neat.
I mean, I'm trying. I don't know.
Well, I did put you on the spot with that question, first of all. So
you're fine.
And just like I didn't know agile methodologies, did you just say funky tech?
Oh, yes. I did not coin that phrase. Someone else did in the late 2000s, but
okay.
It's very much, I live in the middle land between the two and translate between the two.
Okay.
How many times I've sat in conference rooms and the tech line is on the left-hand side and the front line's on the right-hand side, and they're talking at each other and neither one of them know what they're talking about.
Yes.
What the other one's talking about. And I'm like, okay, he's saying this and she's saying that. And they're like, oh, okay, we can move forward now. That's kind of where that lives. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a whole lot of fun, and just really helping things move forward. That's the end all be all,
Yeah.
I've been privileged enough to kind of get an advancement operations general relation degree through my career.
Oh, great.
So I've been brought in all kinds of conversations, from gifting to acknowledgments to, and especially the annual giving space, and how PD works within all of that, so.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Really cool. I want to follow up, Jess. You mentioned a couple times just that you've been afforded some great opportunities, learning experiences. Is there any one in particular that comes to mind, or maybe one that you often, draw upon, or if you're maybe at a conference, you share it with someone?
Yeah, honestly, there are so many. My first endeavor is probably the most significant, getting in and helping do those peer screenings. And that said, I've done so much over 20 years. But that was really the point when I went, yeah, I like this. Let's do this. Can I do more?
Yeah.
How far can I get? And the globalization and from there, the opportunity to sit in on a true implementation. Huge, yeah. Significant for me, because I was able to learn both sides at the same time. The technical skills that are needed to actually walk data, the validation of the data, the way that you have to go through and munch the data before it even happens,
yeah.
thing, and the overall data governance process over that. So I got a really great exposure to a global view of technical side of everything,
Yeah.
And that's helped me over the years kind of create these functional development plans, and understanding how the frontline works. I've worked with over 100 development officers over 20 years, and directly, so it's been this really crazy, okay, I understand how you as a development officer who works this way works, and how can I translate that and meet in the middle between the field and the database as it functions,
Yeah.
It's been so cool. but I believe it's because of that. I've been through 3 implementations at this point.
Wow.
A significant jump in banner, across multiple iterations there, but like, I don't know. I'm just gonna fall into things and then skill up and keep going.
But I mean, I imagine what an asset that you have been to be able to, understand, hear both sides, and then to be able to find the language, the commonalities, so that the two sides can understand each other, and likely, it helps to clarify problems, and then you can go forward as a functioning team. And that's not, in my opinion, that's not something you can easily train on. Like, that's a personality skill set. And one of my managers once said, when she was very early on in managing our team, said that I can teach skill, but I can't teach personality. And so I think you are a great case in point of that, with that ability to bridge the differences.
Thanks. I've had supervisors say that I have my own language. She's like, I have to learn to speak Jess. Just give me a second. But it's because of that, and understanding the processes in general and how they work together, and you walk into an organization and none of them are the same ever, which is a good thing. But, over time, they take bits and pieces and implement it to solve problems and all the things. So it's a matter of understanding the problems that still remain, and how to get everybody on the same page to get it to a solution that works there, not necessarily practice, but what actually works to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that's been so interesting.
Well, at the risk of potentially putting more on your plate, I think that Learn to Speak Jess sounds like a great title for a book or a presentation.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, Jess, you've been in the industry for a good length of time, and it may be hard with this next question to pinpoint one particular moment either. But have you had times, moments, experiences, feedback in your career that made you think and realize, prospect development, analytics, this suits me really well. I feel really at home in this career. Anything stand out to you?
It was the first time I got to go to PD, and that was Minnesota.
Okay.
And it was an amazing environment. I knew that I was doing these things, and like I said, I'd come up from being a secretary, so I knew the sort of beginning logistics of how to create profiles and all of that, but actually sitting down, in particular with Sabrina, but in the environment, Jeff Little and all these people were around, and they actually knew what I was talking about. That was like this magic moment, where it was like, okay, this is a real thing. I can do this. There are other people who are doing the same thing, and not everybody has to learn how to speak Jess. That was really what did it. It's the community, and because of that, and because of the experiences within Apra and within the chapters themselves, I've been able to have really great mentors, and at the same time be able to mentor in a way that links the prospect development generations. I had this odd theory that we actually have generations within prospect development, and that has created sort of the 2.0, and then analytics came in, and then there's this kind of history. Josh Berkowitz actually does a presentation very well on the history of prospect development. I'm fascinated by that. So I think that just the understanding of how that how that all works, and creating that community and continuation of that community is so huge. You have to have people in your life that understand what you're talking about. And in a world where I'm always in between, and they kind of get it, but they kind of don't.
Yeah.
On a daily basis wears on you. So, being able to talk to people like you, and you get it. Or, I'll call Sabrina, or I'll call somebody, and just like, okay, this is going on, help. But how do I translate better? Yeah. It's huge.
That's great. And we've got about 10 minutes, Jess. I think it may be really appropriate to continue that Apra, the PD thread. And I know that given your tenure at Memphis and UAB, and it was a Wittenberg, and then now at UNLV, you're serving on the Apra chapters board. I would love for you to take up some time now to talk about, what you've learned about chapter volunteer leadership from these regional boards, in particular now with, I don't want to lead the conversation, but with SWARO, the newest regional chapter. Just take it away.
It's again another amazing journey. Sabrina and I both at UAB encountered Apra Mid-South about the same time, and some amazing people within that board and that group, and we had looked at it as, okay, we're members, and how do we help? Again, we were in the middle of this re-implementation of Banner, so we're like, okay, maybe we can't help. Maybe we'll do that later, but we're still keeping tabs and doing events and that sort of thing. And eventually ended up hosting an event for Apra Mid-South. And which was all Sabrina and amazing. She was the president at one point. And so then I moved to, I've been involved with Apra Mid-South at Memphis as well, but not to the degree, because I wasn't officially, I was still an admin. I couldn't actually do any of the things. And then moved to Wittenberg and said, okay, where are my people? Because I was used to Apra Mid-South, and got there and met Regina Alhassan, and she's amazing, so amazing. I'm so proud of her. And so I met her, and she's like, okay, we're having a board meeting next Thursday. Come to Ohio State, and we'll just sit on the board, see if you like it. Yeah, I ended up being the secretary at that meeting. It's amazing. It was great.
Way to go, Regina. That's great.
She got me. It was good.
Yeah.
And so, just really being involved there and doing conferences and helping out. And I got to meet amazing people through that. And, understood a lot more about Ohio and how philanthropy works in Ohio, and, how different size schools could work together easily, because in Tennessee, there's 3 big institutions, and then there are little nonprofits everywhere, but they don't really ever meet.
Okay.
I hope that's different today, but in 2006, it was very different.
Yeah.
So just really get involved there, and got into helping out with the professional development, and conferences and that kind of thing over the years. And we had, board turnover amazing, got to meet a whole host of people from different institutions.
Sure.
It was really amazing. I don't know if you know, but Ohio is known for their small sort of liberal arts colleges.
Yes. Yeah.
There's more there per capita than anywhere else in the nation.
Yeah. Oberlin, and the list goes on.
Yep, John Carroll, all of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we had this really great mix of people on the board, and so we had all these different ideas.
Oh, cool.
We're doing advancement all, and it's just them, and then you have like the big schools like Ohio State, where they do one thing and one thing only, and they've got a team of 45 to help them. So
yeah, right.
Really cool. And we were privileged to have the 30th anniversary. OPRN and Minnesota were within a year of each other in creation. So it's sort of this internal, we didn't get our paperwork in on time, but we're really the first kind of idea. So I got to bring in, go speak with Ann Meyer and some really amazing people who founded OPRN. And we brought them to the conference that year, and just really, I soaked in all the history.
That's
amazing.
Awesome.
And then I moved out here and looked around and went, there's no people. I'm not certain. UNR, which is Reno, and UNLV are sister schools. And that's pretty much the only large institutions in Nevada. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not Nevada, it's Nevada. I had to learn that one too. So that's too far to travel given a day, so
yeah.
So, hey, what do we do? And I looked around, and Emily Walsh had restarted Apra, Arizona, and wanted to include New Mexico and Nevada. We did it SWARO, Southwestern Advancement Researchers Organization. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
Gene Sharp and Drew Brewer, and just all of these amazing people from Arizona were all up in it. Greg Duke was in it, just doing the thing and off the ground. And I'm like, yes, can I please help? Let me know how.
Yes.
Like, okay. You can be secretary again. Like, I got this. Okay. So last year, we've been working really hard to get membership. There's only about 30 members in SWARO, and we cover 3 states, but there aren't that many institutions, not only in higher education, but in healthcare and in small nonprofit as well, that even exist, within these 3 states. It's just so dispersed.
Yeah.
And again, people tend to do it themselves versus join bands, and create larger things. So you'll have 5 or 6 small nonprofits, none of which have research. They just kind of do grant funding and so be it,
right.
Which is also cool, but so we do a lot of outreach to directors of foundations and that kind of stuff. Hey, come be part of this group, and we can help in some way,
Yeah.
So very much trying to find what that is. And we created a keynote speaker series, which we're so grateful you were willing to be part of.
My pleasure.
I love this series, so I think it was amazing. But we've had several. We've been doing it for a year now, just to try to get traction, and get some content that allows the $35 to be a member be relevant.
Correct. Yeah.
So we've had some really amazing speakers, Sarah Tedeschi, and you, of course, and Clay Buck. Our Stephanie Brower spoke for us. We're so excited to have been allowed the opportunity to have those conversations, and I think it has really enriched all of us, so far. And it's always a small group, usually no more than 10 at this point. So, but once you get membership, you pay the $35 once, you're in for the entire year. So
right.
We have them monthly, like on the 15th of each month or around there. And, we just come and hang out and have good conversation. And, as we know, I mean, it's very informal, but
informal, but also really fun. I think, that's just, And I think there is something to be said for the intimacy of a smaller group setting as well. So
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to that sense of community again. You know,
mhm.
we can get more people that aha moment. You know, this is my tribe, these are my people, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, I think it helps with overall morale, and it helps your job, and you get these connections where when you get stuck, you go, okay, what do I do? You
uh-huh.
know, and I still have those even today, you know. So okay. Because you know, it's just amazing, you know, and we each have our own networks that we can pull in and bring different views and lenses to the table. You know,
Right.
I found there are three really different shops and schools of thought in prospect development, you know, depending on, you know, where sort of it all came from and the way things are done, you know, and it's been amazing to explore all of those.
Sure. Yeah.
um, my line comes out of Alsac and St. Jude in Memphis, you know, and they
Okay.
do things a specific way, you know, and so that, you know, I don't know, someone was on the L the other day asking about templates. Like, yeah, sure, but it might not work for you. You know? So I think it's great, but there's a larger conversation there, you know, and this community keeps in amazing ways. And as the generations progress, like the origins are fading.
Yes, definitely.
So I find it interesting, and I think being connected to the board for the chapter allows for us to solidify maybe and create those rich traditions, you know, within
Hmm.
a region. So I don't know. I mean, that makes sense at all, but
No, and I
that's what I
think,
do.
yeah, and I think you've been very helpful in giving me leads in many states across the country for other people to talk to, because you're right, like the origin story is fading to a degree and it's evolving, as you mentioned, and now there's data analytics and data science. And so to date, a lot of my guests have kind of been at the mid-career point on people in fundraising.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really by design. It's just how it happened. I think I'm mid-career myself, so maybe I just naturally gravitate
These are
to a
people we
degree to
love.
that too.
Right.
But yeah, my one of my goals for the next season is to get people who have been in the trenches, you know, kind of from those origin days, and get their perspective on what they envisioned their career looking like, and the profession certainly. Where does reality meet, you know, aspirations and things like that, expectations. So yeah, that'd be cool.
That will be cool. I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Jess, this has been really fun and really informative too. And I think having both the diversity of your roles, the geography differences, the boards that have been obviously different compositions. If you move again, maybe not tell anyone until there actually is a secretary on the board.
Maybe.
I don't think you can stop yourself, but
No,
you know.
I can't. Okay.
But
I'm
that,
VP and secretary now, so it's fine.
but that's the valuable thing about people like you is you want to jump right in and give back to APRA, to the profession, and you know, you and I both know that, like it's just very much needed, whether at the local level, you with SWARO, me with APRA Utah. We also had our 30th anniversary party last October of 22. And so as you were talking about OPRN's 30th, there was a reminder of, oh yeah, we had some of the people that helped APRA Utah get to where it is today too. So really, really great experience with that. But yeah, it only happens because people like you are dedicating time and energy outside of getting a promotion
Right, exactly.
to give back and to build up.
I keep thinking, and you know, on those rainy days, you get your head, you get into your head, and I keep thinking, this isn't a job. This is a community.
Yeah.
And we all provide a service to the people we work with. You know, and I keep that sort of tuned in. You know? And that's how I get through the days that, you know, you want to pull your hair out. It's like, okay, we're serving. It's a thing. We're good.
That's right. Yes.
We're at the end of the day. So
yes. Well, if I could just take one moment, I'd be remiss if I didn't do this. Today is actually my very first prospect research manager's last day of work ever. Her name is Val Roberts, and she's retiring. I spoke with her earlier this week. But again, someone who has been in the industry for decades and has seen all the cycles and has given back. But also, I think a good learning lesson for me and perhaps for others, maybe you as well, is that there came a time in Val's career where she said, you know, I've done the speaking, I've done the presenting, the serving on the boards. I need to help the next generation, you know, in a sense, take over from me and people like me, because they have the energy, they have, they need the experience. And I think that has stuck with me from Val Roberts.
yeah.
So, you know, just want to share that in the midst of just honoring her today on her last day.
Yeah,
so
congratulations. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We
So
all
thank you for what's that?
We all aspire to retire. It's a thing.
That's right. Someday, Jess, that rainy cloud you just talked about, the rainy day, that'll break and it'll be a glorious day.
Yes.
Well, Jess, thank you so much. I've just really enjoyed the time. I know it was a long time to get to talking with you today, and that's no fault of your own. I appreciate you being patient with me and having just a really valuable, rich conversation. So I appreciate that.
Okay. You're welcome. This has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. And your interview will go live sometime this spring. And when it does, it'll be posted on LinkedIn and my website, peopleinfundraising.com. So thanks for people listening in, watching, supporting. And we'll be starting off season 2 very, very shortly. And Jess, have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.